getting the first pick.
Get three, Pyro, get three with the
Blade Kid putting on a clinic. Whole team's down. Oh!
Experience tranquility.
Welcome everybody to the Tranquility Gaming Twitch channel. We are going to be bringing you the preseason Harmony Finals for EU. Teams playing are going to be Venus Vipers and EU Scrim. So they've managed to get to the finals here. And it's going to be a breath of fresh air, I think, for the Tranquility scene as well. This is going to be the first EU match we're actually going to have streamed. Of course, I am Toasty, going to be joined here by Thor to bring you the coverage.
Well, honestly, I haven't heard much about the EU teams, so I'm very excited to see what they have in store, what they have to offer, considering this is our first season with the EU teams. And, you know, Tranquility Gaming has been branching off, and this is the latest of its endeavors. So I'm excited to see what they have to offer, and I'm also excited to work on, you know, the first EU cast with you. And that's all I have to say. Might as well just get down to the match.
Yeah, absolutely. Nepal will end up being our first map, so I'm not quite sure what we'll see on this, because obviously EU is quite different from NA. I'm not sure what the Tranquility scene likes to run on this map. I'm not sure of the the general meta or the gist of how people like to play in Tranquility. But I do know EU Scrimbooks as a team specifically, and they have a Fara OTP on their team, which means that is very likely on something like Nepal Shrine. What are you thinking about that?
Oh, definitely. You can actually, Nepal Shrine is very home to Pharah players, for one, but also I've seen Pharah players come out in Village. It's a very interesting thing to see Pharahs come out in Village when you normally see Sim May come out with the Brawl on Village. So that's one space we're in. Hey, maybe a Pharah could work because teams have run Pharah there. If you look at Sanctums, though, you'd think enclosed spaces, Pharah doesn't really work there, but some teams do run Pharah. So if EU Scrimbucks wants to tap into this Pharah player of theirs, they could honestly run it for all rounds on Nepal.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I'm interested to see what is kind of the response, I think, from Venice Vipers, because you're going to end up seeing this kind of like matchup where if they don't have a Pharah player of their own, you're not going to be able to take that Pharah duel. You have to try and hard counter it. So we'll see what ends up coming from that.
Oh, for sure. I'm looking forward to see what Venice Vipers have to offer. I'm one of those analysts who did not do any initial scouting for this team. So I'm looking to be surprised by what I see on Nepal and even from moving on forward, because whoever loses this first matchup gets to decide the next map. And that's going to dictate the pace and the type of playstyle we'll be seeing today.
Yeah, indeed. Obviously, no prior preparation means we're going to be quite pleasantly surprised, I think, by what these teams can bring out. Another thing I want to mention as well is since I last saw EU Scrimbooks play, they've had some massive roster changes. The only players that I think that are the same are Jackson and Walandathas. That's their main tank and their Pharah player. So it's interesting, I think, in terms of the massive roster change they've had since, just a few weeks ago. I wonder if that will affect the way they like to play. Maybe they won't be playing around that far as much, and in that case, we are absolutely screwed in terms of what we know about these teams. But if they do play that far, then I want to see how this kind of new roster gels around.
Oh, for sure. I'm actually looking forward to see what Elixir, their other DPS, has to offer. They picked up Elixir as a hit scan player, so it'd be interesting to see what she's going to be bringing to the table.
Yeah, indeed, and it seems like the teams are pretty much ready to go into the game. It's going to be in a pool to start off with. We're just waiting on, I think, the lobby host. Yep, there we go.
There we
We're
go.
going to be getting in. So, right on into the action, honestly. I don't know what map we're going to be seeing. Okay, this is Village, so this might be the Mirror Brawl map, but Jackson obviously has the option of Farah.
Oh, for sure, but it looks like EU Scrimbucks is going for... Oh.
They're making swaps
They're,
because we aren't even in the game yet.
We have not loaded in.
We're not even in the game.
This is the mental games. Have you played in any game with Lucio Mercy heals?
No, I don't think, I can't say I have. I don't know if that's like a plot thing, but...
Huh. Well, it's not even just a plat thing. There are like Transcendence tier teams who have run Mercy Lucio heals. But it really depends on everything else on the comm. But I'm here waiting to see what each side has to offer so we can get an initial read of what they want to play and what they want to do with what they're bringing out.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm interested to see. Obviously, we saw, I think, a little bit of a tease of what these teams will be playing. We saw an insta-lock of that rush by EU Scrimbucks. Not sure if we'll get that from the Venice Vipers, but now we get to see. And yeah, pretty much mirrored rush. That Roadhog's a bit inspirational, but...
That is indeed a very inspirational pick. But if Venice Vipers is thinking they're going to be the enemy team is going to be running something that doesn't have an Ana, Hog is within his element. He can just flank with it if that's what he decides to do. But you have EU Scrimbucks running with the tried and tested Sim May Brawl, and I wonder if there's going to be any last minute swaps on the side of Venice Vipers.
Yeah, the Sim May versus the Sim Cassidy, as well as that Roadhog, it could cause a lot of chaos, I think, for the Venice Vipers here to be able to use that Roadhog, especially up from the high ground to their advantage. I mean, already, they're the ones kind of looking to take the high ground. You'll see EU Scrimbucks on the point, and this is good because they can just sit here with the Sim turrets, kind of poke out and really deal damage. And early on, Gamespeed goes down, so brilliant poke coming out early on. A nice wall as well. Catches out the tank line, forces immortality from Miss Bolt, so that goes down. So they're off onto Miss Kirin, but I don't think it matters that they are saved by Aiden. Now there's the aggression and the cleanup in EU Scrimbucks.
Oh, definitely. This is going to be cleanup phase for EU Scrimbucks because they were the first on point. They managed to get the Sim to finally set up there. So we see on the side of Venice Vipers, they are making some compositional changes. They removed the Brig to go for the Mercy, changing the Hog for the Diva, and it looks like they're opting to the Pharah, which we were expecting from EU Scrimbucks. So I'm excited to see how they're going to pull off this brawlish, pokey spam comp.
Yeah, how the turns have tabled here as Mate is going to be playing that Pharah instead of Jackson, who's on the May. So I'm interested to see what they can get out of this. I'm pretty optimistic. You can deal a lot of damage from afar, and that's symmetric. Can't deal with the Pharah as conveniently. Arndafas looking to take some early poke up against the enemy of Reinhardt, trying to build up to that shatter as Volta and Karak do go down. The tank line coming up big for EU Scrimbucks. Leaves everyone else pretty vulnerable to just fall, I think, from Venice Vipers. They don't disengage quickly. That's exactly what they do.
Yes, they do have to disengage quickly because right off the start of that fight, they lose their BAP and they lose their Rhine. But that's really on their back playing on a very off angle away from their team. And it looks like they're about to re-engage, so what are we seeing here, Toasty?
I mean, there's a potential shatter from Wow and Daphas that could let that loose, but no, it's just going to be the symmetric wall and the Blizzard to just completely lock up that side of the point. There was an attempt at the barrage there in the backline from Mate, but everyone else was a little bit too far away to get value from it. And again, another shutdown and 8% and counting here for EU Scrimbucks.
This is not looking good for Venice Vipers, just from the ult economy. You have 4 ults on the side of EU Scrimbucks, and these are fight-winning ults, and ults that can sustain the fight even longer, while Venice Vipers only has a Val and a Ride Shatter.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, this Kaya could go big. There's a shatter, but that's well, and Daphas gonna let it loose onto Karak, takes him down with the impact damage, and the Kaya finds absolutely nothing from the game speak. May comes in for some extra damage, but can't build up the barrage, can't make a glimpse play, and there's EU Scrimbucks coming out on top in the first round. Very surprisingly, given that they're playing May Sim instead of that signature Pharah.
Oh, definitely. They opted for, the standard sim May brawl, and they executed it perfectly from, a 0-100. No turnovers, nothing whatsoever. And I really think it's because Venice Vipers maybe wasn't playing their pokey spam comp in the proper way. These comps rely on coming from different angles to spam, a singular Rhyme Shield. So I'm looking at what each side has for comps, and it looks like EU Scriptbooks is opting in for the Pharah this time with a ball comp with the Pharah Tracer. And on the other side, this is something new. I've never seen this in any of my scrims. I'll be
Yeah.
okay.
This is a bit creative coming through from Venice of Vipers, playing the Junkrat Hanzo Wrecking Ball, and then putting a Reinhardt in the mix as well, just for some extra stability. I'm not sure how much value this is going to get, as well, and Daphas is already set up behind him, and is probably going to look for a boot play, catches the BAP. What a play coming through, immediately just decimates the heals. Elixir comes in the backline as well, gets that one quantum mate and the melee kill into Carrot. Love to see it, and this will be the first cap going to EU Scrimbooks.
Yep, first cap goes to EU Scrimbooks. And I honestly think that was a great play from Wallen Datas because he set up that play so cleanly for Jackson and Elixir by displacing all of them and for them to cap and for the 2 DPS to capitalize on the displaced players from Venice Vipers.
Yeah, and now it's going to be the Roadhog instead, so Jola's going back to, I think, what must be their comfort pick, considering they've played it twice. And Jackson has the barrage coming up in this team fight, could go down for it. They are having this very high position, just lording it over them, and there's no real rotation coming through here, you'll notice, from Venice Vipers. Now they're going to try and push towards the point, but that Discord sends them off just a little bit. Jola's taking a lot of damage. They're taking it slow, to say the least. Now Jackson looks to maybe go in alongside Elixir in the backline. They're building up towards the Pulse Bomb. And here's the pile driving engage potentially. Well, and Dathos are just going to get hard stun locked in the backline. And, well, these Scrimbox, they've lost their main source of engaging. Now you see the rotation towards the point come through from Venice Vipers, but they're still struggling to make that space in the face of Jackson's Pharah. They're not going to get onto that point and get some presence on it. Jackson coming into the backline though, potentially looking for blocks. They keep on debating me, but there we go. They're going to let it rip. Catches 3 with it. What a play. And that immediately stabilizes the fight for them. A nice 4K.
Oh, that is a very clean 4K, and that was very patient of Jackson to set up for that far barrage. But I think the struggle they're having right now is they want to push on to point. Venice Vipers wants to push on to point, but they are being pressured from multiple angles, and it's really up to this hog to get that pick in order to make meaningful changes.
Yeah, it's really all up to Jolie's here and see what they can get done. Clearly not much. It's immediately Jackson and Elixir in the backline, assassinating the opposing backline. As well, and Dathos with the mines as well, zoning off all that space. Jackson res back up, and it's a 6 versus 3 now. I don't know what that Roadhog is going to get done towards the end as Jackson does the cleanup. And these Scrimbox coming up with a very nice first map win.
That was very clean. That is indeed a very clean execution from EU Scrimbucks, and wow, they are actually on matching colored skins for their team. They are repping, I guess, the old LA Valiant colors from what I've seen, but throughout this whole Nepal map, team execution of their brawl, but also of this ball Pharaoh comp that they came out with. Venice Vipers needs to figure out how are they going to respond to this Pharaoh that's making massive spam damage in the background. Is the hog the right pick for it? What do they need to change? Is it a playstyle? There's so many things that could be tweaked that maybe they could change the turn and turn the tide.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point, and I mean, I'm still interested as to why eScrimbooks, why they. Not eScrimbooks, sorry, Venice Vipers, why they keep on running this weird Roadhog, Hanzo, Junkrat composition. Like you said, there's a lot of adaptations to be made, I think, because you can't really get too much value out of the Roadhog there if you're being constantly spammed out with Discord, a Pharah, a Tracer in your backline. It's very difficult to get into position when you're playing the Roadhog, especially without a speed boost. You'll notice they weren't playing the Lucio in either of those situations where they played the Roadhog, so I'm quite interested to see whether Venice Vipers continue with this really weird composition choosing, or if they actually try and mirror EU Scrimbooks in the kind of brawl that they've been playing, or that Wrecking Ball as well, because we saw Jackson on that on Sanctum.
Oh, for sure. Like, I wonder if they're going to keep this funky composition of theirs. When I look at each of the pieces that they were bringing out stuff like the hog. What does the hog do? It gives like that one pick potential, especially if they land a hook on maybe a flying mercy. That's the pocket of the Pharaoh gone from the air. The hook provides that range to get targets that are at a distance, and I guess it's helpful, especially if your other tank that you're running with is Orion, who's very stationary. I think it's more of okay, should we be bunkering up as a team when we're running these very funky compositions, or should we be taking, two different poke angles so that, we can get the maximum value from the poke, from whether it's the Kree or the soldier or even, from a hog hook, right? So it looks like we might be heading to Hanamura.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Second map type here, Assault, which is a funky map order for you playing, but I think getting 2CP out of the way is a very nice option. So Hanamura is going to be the map. What I'm seeing with this, though, is that this kind of lends itself to Jackson's Farah more than it benefits Venice Vipers. And Venice Vipers picked this. They are the ones that tried to play Hanamura, and really, I mean, it just benefits Jackson more than anything. I think Volskaya maybe would have been a better map. That's at least, I think, out of the three, the worst fire map there, because you can play so much long-range hit scan. I'm not sure what Venice Viper's plan is. Maybe they got something up their sleeve. Who knows?
I'm actually of the opinion that you could play for any of the two CP maps that are in Tranquility. You could actually play Faracomps in them. So I wonder if Venice Vipers picking Hanamura has to do with bringing out a comp that we haven't seen yet in in Nepal, because maybe it's a comp that works better in very stationary and set points like that don't really thrive on the chaos or trying to contest point 24/7. So you could think of comps like Double Shield that like to bunker down a bit more, right? Or I think, or maybe like going back to the actual like standard brawl, right? But I haven't seen Jolis play anything other than the hog right now, so I'm pretty interested to see what is the reason for coming into Hanamura.
Yeah, I'm quite interested as to the compositional choice of what will, like, maybe they have some sort of weird strategy they'll play the kind of bunker, the Sigma, but no, seems like they'll go straight back to the Reinhardt, this time with a Mercy, and so, this obviously isn't their final composition, but I like this to some extent. I think if Skyfire plays a Lucio here, this is a pretty much perfect composition for breaking into an Orisa Sigma, especially if you're going to TP maybe top right or straight to point. Straight to point's a bit harder against Sash and Thor, but...
Oh, for sure. What we're seeing here is a double shield comp from EU Scrimbucks, and that brawl hybrid of sorts coming from Venice Vipers. I wonder if Skyflower is going to be changing to Lucio, or if they're running with this Mercy. Because if they're running with this Mercy, this is going to be huge trouble for their main tank, Karadik.
Yeah, I want to see what happens here with the Ashe, because if they get a Dynamite into the TP, this could be deadly, but they're just going to go for it early off the bat. It gives time to heal them up, but that's a great accretion coming through into the TP. Deals a lot of damage to the side of Venice Vipers, and now, slowly but surely, they're going to fall one by one. Well, and Datas kind of caught out on the sidelines of the point, but I don't think that matters too much. They can give up a little bit of space. Didn't even give up a pick there, I'm not going to lie, and that's really good from EU Scrimbucks. Not giving up a pick against the Symmetra and actually pressing the point and getting the kills through. Alexa doing a lot of that work, in fact. And yeah, that's about what I expected to happen.
For sure. Elixir carried that very well, coming from a different, poking angle from the Torb turret. And I think that's how this double shield works into, a brawl type of comp, wherein like they can poke from different angles. The shield of Ryan's very one-sided, so they can only, cover damage from one angle. So I think Venice Vipers is trying to respond here in a different way, and they're going with a far Mercy this time.
Yep, but this time it's 2 Madre on it instead of mates. So I'm interested to see what actually the reasoning is behind putting Dumadre on this. Maybe it's because you want Mate on the Hanzo, maybe they're a really good Hanzo player. We haven't actually seen their full potential yet. Who knows? We'll see coming into this team fight as they immediately die to a Torb turret, so it goes against my point there. But now the Gorilla Clock's coming through from Mixer. Kirin looking to lift them all up and slam them straight down to the ground. That's the damage coming through onto Jolise and Bunny. And another solid fight there for EU Scrim.
Oh, for sure, that was a... They've only lost Elixir in that whole fight, but that's because, you know, 2 Madre came from a very off angle, and that's a good way for Far to come in with, like, poke damage, right? Taking a slight off angle from the main team. Now, if we look at the ults, EU Scrim Bucks are coming up with 5 ults very soon, while, you know, Venice Vipers is still in that process, and they only have a window to engage.
Yeah, window might not be too bad here, but it depends on how they use it. This rotation's going to come through into the top kind of staircase area. You're going to walk across the bridge. I don't think this is the greatest rotation you can be taking against a Torbjorn Ashe Sigma, right? There's a lot of spam you're taking unnecessarily, but we'll see what happens. I mean, they're at least shielding people across and getting them into position. And actually gives Mate a very nice position up on this high ground to spam down the damage if EU Scrim Bucks give the opportunity to do that. However, they're all playing out of line of sight, so it makes it a little bit more difficult. As now they're going to start looking to approach towards the point, you would think. And yeah, they're letting the far against position first. I like this. 2 Madre on the side. Spamming them out. Now Carrot drops down to the point, looking to rotate into position. Near the drum, but Bunny goes down. Aiden falls in the back line as well. 2 Madre with the barrage, catching 2. Jackson, the Torb turret, doing a lot of work there. Takes out Jolise, and they are there with the cleanup as well, just with the Rivet gun. It's a Hanzo versus the world, and they're not going to get much. Spadrak whips out the Glock, takes him down, and now there's 40 seconds on the clock remaining.
Yep, there's 40 seconds on the clock, and if the ult economy-wise, EU Scrim Bucks is still at the lead with 4. They have 2 really big tank ults and both of the DPS ults, while the side of Venice Vipers, they're only coming up to Reinshire.
When pulling up a tank line like this, very good decision because it forces out that immortality and Bunny goes down. Elixir with the shot into the back. I mean, Jolise is going on a mission right now to duel out Jackson all the way around the side, but Jackson does get away with that life, and now it's kind of dire straits. Venice Vipers, they have to get into position on this point, but the Reinhardt is so slowly, can't walk towards it, and that is a big old letter number. Unable to get on the point in time. That's a full hold from EU Scrim Bucks. Great stuff from them.
Oh, definitely. That was great stuff from EU Scrim Bucks. And honestly, that was more of a comp mix up, right? And from there, I think it's just more of where they were pathing, speed that they need to path. That was the challenge, right? And I think if they had a Lucio, they might have gotten to where they wanted to be earlier, especially when they took that top right area. That was honestly a smart play. Could have been even better if there was a Lucio to make it faster, because it felt like they were going, Venice Vipers was going very slow.
Yeah, and part of them going slow is both because they were playing Mercy, and because they're just playing a slow composition, right? You're playing Ryan Roadhog. That's not like Ball where you can just roll through and you're immediately in the enemy's backline. It's not like Diva where you can get these high ground positions really easily. So it's both the tank line and the support line that are kind of lacking in terms of the synergy. And once again, the compositional synergy does not look great here. You're playing Ana Zen with Ryan Sigma. I would prefer like a Baptiste Lucio here, I'm not gonna lie. Even if 2 Madre and Mate need the extra damage, I just don't like it.
I mean, they're going for something pokey. They're expecting that Sim Mei that's coming from EU Scrim Bucks and just poking them as they come in, poking from different angles. It's very heavy poke. And I think that's what they're going for, burning the Rhine as they're coming in. But let's see what's happening here, Toasty.
Yeah, I mean, that's a brilliant rotation from EU Scrim Bucks to kind of deny that win condition you were talking about. Ryan copy bursted down after they're all the way up on the high ground, and now they have this very forward position up near the point where they can go and kill off Caraquip. They're going to look for Jolise as well on the off angle, but they fall before that. Symmetra dealing a lot of damage so as well, and that's a massive anti-nade coming through those Skyflower, potentially winning the team fight for their team, but it is just the backline plus, in fact, no one else. No one there but the backline. They're going to fall, and that is the map win there for you, Scrimbucks. With full hold and an instant take on their offense. They are looking unstoppable in this series.
Oh, they are definitely looking unstoppable. They knew what they wanted to do with their May Sim comp on that attack. They knew that Venice Vipers was going for, a pokey comp coming from different angles. So what do? They take one area and speed through it in order to take one side of the map and, brawl it out from there.
Yep, exactly. And hey, I mean, they circumvented the enemy win condition, they pushed their own really well, and overall, it seemed like EU Scrimbucks were always a step ahead. You can call that a compositional diff if you want, because genuinely, I think that was the key issue. Venice Vipers, they're having good individual play. You saw at the end there, a flash of glory from Skyflower with that massive anti-nade. I think going into the further maps, if Venice Vipers play some proper compositions, you kind of Winston Diva, your Ball Diva, that kind of stuff, maybe even play some just pure Brawl. If they're playing that Ana alongside it, I think Skyflower, if they put up anti-nades like that in every team fight or most team fights, that kind of flash of glory at the end doesn't have to be a flash. You can genuinely have that throughout the entire series and then kind of bring it back. Depends on what Venice Vipers decide to do.
Oh, that's for sure. But I also think something that Venice Viper needs to, kind of figure out as a team is why is it maybe one of their supports are getting picked off very early? Because from what I've noticed from all these fights that EU Scrimbucks and Venice Vipers get into, the first one that usually gets picked off is one of the supports. So that's something that they need to take a look at. Is it, maybe they're not in the same position as they would like, but I think this is something that they could fix for the next map.
Yeah, absolutely. It is going to be Venice Vipers and map pick coming up next, and as I'm aware, I think this is Hybrid as our next map, so I think this is a hard choice to be having here for Venice Vipers in terms of what they can pick.
Oh, exactly.
And I don't know, Toasty, what do you think? What should Venice Vipers do for the next match?
I think going into the next map, I mean, what are our hybrid map picks we got? The Iconvold, Blizzard World, King's Row. I think just force rush King's Row. I genuinely think if that's if they're struggling to have these other compositions, then that's what they should be playing.
Oh,
if they're struggling to figure out what to play in terms of the Roadhog and playing the slow comps, then just play King's Row, play Rhine Sig, defensive if you need to, Bap Zen, that kind of stuff. I think that is a solid idea, at least on the defense, but the offense is a different story.
Oh, for sure. And it looks like Venice Vipers wants to bring them to Hollywood. So
yeah, Hollywood. Wait, there's not even in the map pool?
I'm not.
That's not in the map pool. They tried to pick Hollywood and it's not even in the pool. Oh.
Oh my gosh.
Iconvold, Blizzard World are kings, so now they've been made aware of that. Hopefully they pick an actual map.
But hey, I was gonna go on a discussion on Hollywood is one of those maps that does not get picked that often in Tranquility. When given an option among all options for maps, right? Hollywood is one of those that's the least picked, and I think it's because you could get stuck at that choke very easily, and it's always been one of those hard chokes to break. So I'm looking to see, based on our actual map pool for this preseason, what Venice Vipers wants to pick.
Yeah, I think they were looking at the overall Season 8 map pool, probably assuming they were already in the season, but nope, this is the preseason finals, so I'm assuming they also don't know this is the first to 4 if they're going off the assumption that this is in Season 8, because it's preseason right now. And yeah, I mean, that's another thing I want to bring up right now, that first to 4, because even if Venice Vipers lose this next map, they still have reverse sweep opportunities. It's not like now is when they need to reverse sweep, because that would still be 2-3, it'd still be a map to play. They have time to adapt, find out how EU Scrimbucks are playing, and they have time to work with. to turn things around. So Eichenwald doesn't have to be the map they do it on. Obviously, they have picked Eichenwald. But they can kind of scout out an Eichenwald, see what his Scrimbox might try and play, and really get a read on them because you do have some breathing room to work with here if you're Venice Vipers.
Oh, for sure. But I also think this is a smart move by Venice Vipers. It gives them an idea, yes, as you said, of like what EU Scrimbox plans to run. But if you actually look at their incoming matchup for the incoming, season of Tranquility, they're playing again in 2 weeks. They will be playing against each other again in 2 weeks. So this is actually good scouting for both teams.
Yeah, I mean, you call it scouting, it's still the preseason finals at the end of the day. You're still going to be trying to win it for some bragging rights. I don't know what the prize is for this. If there's a prize pool, you can let me know. But either way, you do want to be winning this either way. Don't just use it for scouting. I hope Venice Vipers... I mean, Eichenwald's a pretty easy map to figure out, right, in terms of what you play. You play mostly Rush. Second point's a bit harder, but... definitely possible to play some Rush. You can play Orisa Sigma. You can play basically anything, I'm not going to lie. The only thing I would advise not to play is like some Winston, Diva, Tracer stuff, because that's really hard to make work on first.
Oh, I agree with that. I've seen very different comps that appear on Eichenwald, and it looks like EU Scrimbox is going for their tried and tested Ball Pharah, and with their partner DPS of an Ashe. And from there, on the side of Venice Vipers, it looks like they're going for another Brawl comp, except they're still running the Mercy with it. So I wonder if they're keeping the Mercy and that Soldier just so that there is that, aerial pressure to Jackson's Pharah.
Yeah, I think... I see, this is the kind of composition where... one change needs to happen, I think, for Venice Vipers, and it's adding a Lucio. I don't know how neither of these supports have Lucio in the pool, but Skyflower on the Ana isn't a bad option, especially because you can deal with the Pharah a little bit better. You can get some anti-nades through onto the enemy core that you're trying to rush onto, so it's not all awful. Problem is, Jackson's already in the backline, dealing damage, 50% towards that barrage, and the Soldier's not really done too much work in forcing them away. Now you'll see the Power Drive engage come through from the Wrecking Ball as well, comboed with the anti-nade from Aiden, so this pressure has got them all caught up in at the small room on this side. Gamesgeek and Jolas end up going down to that massive burst of damage, and that's what they are playing for. Jackson getting in there with the damage, Elixir having the dynamite, the pile drives, the roll-throughs, and the anti-nades. I've just listed off a million threats, and there's way too many to deal with here. As he used Scrimbox, they come up with a fight win off of Jackson's barrage as well, and nice all 3k for them towards the end.
But I give props to Walandathas for that, because he was so patient in setting up that roll through for Elixir and for Jackson to get all those, ult charge. I mean, that was just one fight and Jackson got barrage. That's crazy. So it looks like there might be some compositional changes on the side of Venice Vipers, but that's only changing from the Reaper to a Kree. Maybe to deal with this Pharah.
Yeah, I mean, I think double hit scan is really showing that they find Jackson as a threat, right? That's what they're showing, is that they know they have to kill off that Pharah, but now they lack this kind of ground presence against the Wrecking Ball. Walandathas is going to roll through, deny the attack visor for the most part. They still get it through and a lot of damage from it, but there's the Valkyrie from Spadarak and the Bob from Elixir, comboed with the mines. They're just putting in the pain. As that'll be Miss Volta going down, they fly into a mine accidentally. Jolas falls as well. Looks like he used Scrimbox potentially taking this fight, but Gamesgeek and 2 Madre get a kill apiece. Doesn't quite matter as 2 Madre goes down and they disengage.
Honestly, that was very equal ult trade from both sides. That was one big ultimate fest. And you see it from the ultimates that each side has. EU Scrimbox is only going to be coming up with a Pharah barrage this next fight. But on the side of Venice Vipers, what are they going to have? A Shatter? These two ults don't mesh, so we'll see how each of them wants to deal with it.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see. Barrage, I think Barrage here for Jackson, as long as they get a kill or two with it, could be good. Dathas though goes down and there's a slammer onto Mixer Kirin as well. Jackson comes in the backline and gets that one kill I was talking about onto Mate, so trading it out and making it 5 versus 5. I don't know if Miss Volta wants to go for that res, considering Jackson is still being a menace in the backline, dueling out GamesGeek as they take him down with the dink, popping the high noon. Are they going to catch the Wrecking Ball? No, they don't actually catch them out. Instead, it's going to be the bomb there from Mixer Kieran to zone off some space and allow the time now for Scrimbox to get back into position and do something about this point presence as well. And Dathas almost goes down, has to be super careful not to fall. Miss Volta falls, and I still don't think that kill on some Mercy is enough. I think Scrimbox have lost this one out, and yeah, the Vipers, they come out on top in this team fight. No, well, and Dathas and Jackson, they come through in the backline, but they see 9. They get the kills, but it doesn't matter if you don't touch the objective. A bit unfortunate for them there.
Oh, definitely, but I think this plays very well into Venice Viper's strength because they had that Ryan bunker down on point. Well, the Far decides to go take off the squishies that were not on point.
Yeah, I don't quite like the C9, but at least it gives him a bit more ult charge to work with for this next fight. Jackson has a barrage again. It feels like every fight I'm saying Jackson has a barrage, and they could potentially... I don't think they'll want to use it this fight. There's nothing really to combo with. Might want to save it for Nano. They do have some just nice kind of default ultimates to go to. You've got the Mines, you've got the Valk, Bob as well. We've seen those be used in tandem before, and Landatas comes through with the Power Drive. They combo that with the barrages. It's a 1-for-1 trade. The Visor might zone some players off though and make it a bit harder for Scrimbox to traverse around, and yeah, Nate catches out Spadrak, and now it's looking like Scrimbox, they've got nothing to their name. They can't really make an engage happen.
No, they will definitely have to disengage for here a bit and set up themselves again. Ult economy wise, they're both on pretty much the same page. 3 ults on both sides, but I think Scrimbox is coming up with that Nano, and that Nano will be big.
Yeah, and that kill onto Mate. I'm not sure if it was a boop that, you know, somehow wasn't credited, but either way, that's the soldier that's completely gone out of the fight, while Dathas as well. Elixir looking to take the high ground though, up on the bridge. Bombed by to Madre. That's a confident play. The problem here for Scrimbox is that, again, they're not touching the card. There's going to be Mixer Kieran on it, but they're taking a lot of flack. And there's the Mines. They're going to catch Jolise, and they have to try and back away, but not into the Mines. As Mixer Kieran and Elixir come up with kills of their own. They clutch up the fight there for Scrimbox, I would like to say, as Nate comes through with a 3-piece and maybe could turn their fortunes around, but Jackson hits a long-range dink, they swap onto the Hanzo, and yeah, there we go, they stabilize.
Oh, they did stabilize, and there's so much few card progress that, you know, Venice Viper still has left, but they're coming up with they have 3 ults. 2 of them are going to be built in this next fight for sure. But on the side of Scrimbox, they're going to have 4 for the next fight for sure. So we're going to be seeing an ult fiesta soon. I can tell you that much at least, Toasty.
Yeah, this is going to be an absolute ult fest, and I'm excited to see it. I think the nano boosts are really what I'm looking at here. Well, it depends on who they use them onto, really. As that bomb comes through from Mixer Kieran, forces some players off of the main bridge. And Dragon Strike to zone players off of the points, but the High Noon did catch out well in Dathas, so it's still looking alright here. Potentially for the Vipers. That being said, it's going to be the Shatter onto Mixer Kieran as GamesGeek falls, and Jolise is just going ham on the cart. He gets some kills through, and so does Mate with the Tag Visor. 2-piece for them, looking for the 3rd one as well, but it looks like it's just going to take some time to kill off that Wrecking Ball. They get the B cap. And Vipers are looking a little bit better on this map than they were on the previous 2, I'm not going to lie.
Vipers knew what the issue was. They kind of figured out and said, hey, our answer to this is to have a double hit scan to deal with the Pharah. But now that they're in close quarters, Scrimbox has decided that, hey, we're going to go for the Brawl, and we're changing that Pharah for a Junkrat to, you know, get the same type of spam that the Pharah comp has. But they're not going to have any ults running into this. Actually, both sides don't, except for Venice Vipers with just a bomb.
Yeah, pretty much a dry fight, as Venice Vipers do have to try and come up with that bomb at some point. Not while Jackson's alive, though, clearly, as they're just doing the damage. Getting in there with the Mines, already almost has their the tire online. This Volta goes down towards the end. That's an interesting bomb into the backline from 2 Madrid towards the end of the fight, and it is still a fight. I'm telling you that much, as Jolise is coming back in with the swings, trying to force well on Dathas back. Jackson has the tire online now, Skyflower with the nano boost, and it looks like this could potentially turn into a bit of a strong engagement for the Venice Vipers as they are going hammer onto Walandathas with the nano boost. What a block though from Walandathas onto the shatter, prevents it from getting any value, and Jackson with the tire is denied by GamesGeek, but that doesn't matter because Jolis goes down. And it still seems like EU Scrimbox can stabilize, but this visor could come up big for Mate, and it does. Gets 2 kills off onto the DPS line, looking for a bit more as well. It looks like Venice Vipers will continue pushing this card forward.
And they are indeed pushing that fight forward with, you know, EU Scrimbox giving that bomb to make some additional space. And they're coming out with 2 ults. I want to see what EU Scrimbox plans to do with these 2 ults.
Yeah, I mean, Elixir just comes through with a flank flash onto the cart, and they're going to pop the high noon from that high ground, but they're taken down by a Mate. The sharpshooter shot coming through, but the shadow from Walandathas in the swings as well. A 3-piece immediately coming through. This turns their fortunes around tenfold. This is going to be Jackson coming through for cleanup as well onto Miss Volta. There's just a tank line remaining. They're not tanky enough to absorb all that damage. And EU Scrimbox just in the nick of time off of the back of Walandathas' 5-piece. They managed to turn it around and they get that hold through.
Oh, definitely. They held it just enough so that it doesn't cap to a 0.3. And you know, that more or less decides that there is going to be a winner or loser for this map, because they did full cap the whole of Venice Vipers did not cap the whole of Eichenwald. But what I found interesting with Venice Vipers for this map is that you had people actually role swapping. Wasn't 2 Madre on a different hero, different role the last map? So it seems like they're trying to figure out what is the best you know, player to play for each role, and it looks like they might have found their groove on Eichenwald, especially with coming out with the double hit scan to deal with the Pharah, and it did them wonders until 0.3.
Yeah, and I'm not sure whether the key is having to moderate on the off tank or it's having GamesGeek on DPS. I'm not sure which one of those is making the difference. It could be that third factor altogether of Mate. They were absolutely wrecking face towards the end, I'm not going to lie. End of second point, going into third, they were getting kills constantly. The visors were coming up massive. So, yeah, I think Mate could be the key. So, maybe it's that role swap as well. Maybe it's a combination. Who knows?
Maybe
but
everything.
I'm liking it.
I'm liking it too. And you know what? EU Scrimbox are coming out with the ball Pharah again. Try to test it. Let's see if it's going to work for them yet again.
I'm scared for Walandathas because you're playing into an Ana who is known to be mechanically good, at least from this game. They've been getting antis and sleeps through the entire time. You're also playing into that Cassidy with the stun. And you're not going to have the support of Jackson from afar because Mate can just force them away. Nope, never mind. Jackson gets the sharpshooter shot onto them. Takes them out. I might have cursed that a little bit. But I don't know if that's going to matter too much as that res comes through. Skyflower assassinated in the backline by Elixir, and there's absolute anarchy just happening on all ends of the map right now. It's going to be a pin out of the room from Jolis onto the enemy Diva, but that doesn't matter because Jackson's in the backline wrecking the face. That'll be the cap coming through in EU Scrimbox. They're going to have a hefty time bank.
And as you did say that Mate seems to be that, you know, difference making those huge plays for Venice Vipers. And it seems like maybe Jackson actually saw that too, because he went straight for that soldier from the get-go and he was the first to get picked off. And look, he's already pushed up forward and then starting to cause even further menace for Venice Vipers.
Yeah, 2 kills plus a res deny. That's what they've just accomplished, playing up in Castle. And while there will be the returning Cassidy soon, it's not quick enough so that Elixir can get in the backline and deal some damage. Even though Jackson falls, they have some ability. They can get back from spawn relatively quick, and Pillard hasn't even progressed past the Castle corner, so I'm not too worried for EU Scrimbox as of right now. 2 Madre on the Roadhog can actually deal with Walandathas pretty well. You see it there. They get hooked, antied, stunned up, and nothing can really be done. Pulse bomb into the back from Elixir, and the nano barrage from Jackson, wrecking the enemy team, decimating them to atoms. That's a 4K coming through, and, well, that's the kind of plays you need, right? The ult synergy, the nano, the barrage. The pulse bomb's there for a distraction. You'll love to see it.
Yep, and with all of that happening, EU Scrimbucks only invested 3 ults. They're going to come up with 2 in the next fight, and they already have Valk ready, so that's a great sustain. But I want to see what Mate is planning to do with this Soldier ult, because Soldier ult is very tricky to use. But he's not alone. There's 5 ults coming out in total for Venice Vipers.
The hard dive onto the Soldier as they're ulting, and it still doesn't matter. Nate gets the kill off onto the Pharmacy duo. Gamesky gets a flash left hook onto Elixir as well. Even if Mixer Kirin comes up with a kill, I was going to say I'm not sure if it matters, but maybe it does as well. And Daphas also frags onto Skyflower. It's going to be the Shadow, though. Manages to catch out well, and Daphas still doesn't cop the kill, but denies him long enough to get that win through for the side of the Vipers. And I'm not sure on that high noon, I'm not going to lie.
I'm also not sure on that high noon. Venice Vipers had already won that fight. EU Scrimbucks was already pushed away, trying to regroup. So I really think that high noon could have been saved for a later fight. But it seems like they have figured out Skyflower is still behind enemy lines. And this looks like cleanup. Or maybe not. It looks like EU Scrimbucks might be capitalizing on something here, Toasty.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a confident play from Jackson, I'm not going to lie. They conk blast into the enemy Roadhog and Soldier, but they get the kill off somehow and then come out unscathed. I'm not sure how Jackson keeps on managing to get away with this, but that's going to be the pile drive 1 clip from Elixir onto Skyflower, kills them off. And now it's a 4 versus 6 where you have to try and hold on to this card presence for dear life if you're Venice Vipers. But it's going to be a little bit difficult with so many ultimates you're going up against. And that long-range anti-nade from Aiden landed onto the DPS line. That allows Jackson to get into position with the Nano Barrage. But Elixir stealing the fame just ever so slightly. They've kind of had a bit of a quiet game up until now. They're starting to get the work done on the Tracer. And that will be the point B cap for EU Scrimbucks. 4 minutes going into 3rd point, and like you said before, it's a solid win condition. It's not like they cap up and there's another round. It's over if they get to the end.
Oh, definitely, for sure. And if you look at the side of Venice Vipers, it looks like they're only coming in with a Nano and a Soldier ult, building probably Shatter mid-fight. But on the side of EU Scrimbucks, they're going for a completely different comp. They've swapped it up. They're back to 0 for ults, except maybe for that Diva bomb. So maybe that might make a difference, who knows?
Yeah, I'm not sure, we'll see. This is going to be the aggression coming through, while Daphas, though, blocks up the Shadow from Joe Lisa and manages to kill him in the face of a Nano Boost, bursting them down, and they didn't even have an anti-nade to do that with, so impressive target focus from EU Scrimbucks, but well, and Daphas is punished for going around the corner, can't quite be immortality'd up, and EU Scrimbucks are trying to stabilize. There is some core presence from the TV, but I'm not sure how much that's going to get done as Jackson just falls in the face of all of that spam, and I think this is a stabilization from the Venice Vipers with all of that damage from GamesGeek and Mate.
Honestly, I think what EU Scrimbucks did was quite smart. They were 0 on ults, and they just used this fight for a drive push in order to build ults. And what do they have now? They're about to have Window. They've just gotten Cass ult, and what does the side of Venice Vipers have? Whole Hog, Nano, and Valve. So they might Nano to engage, and that's what I'm hoping to see. Or they're gonna Whole Hog in order to delay some time.
Well, that seems to be what they're going to do. Whole Hog forces away the Reinhardt and buys a little bit of time. That actually allows Jackson to get into position, though, and get that tire off. But no, May and GamesGeek combining to take him down. While in Daphas can't really do much against it now. Reinhardt and Venice Vipers, they're really getting into that groove.
Oh, for sure. That break that they had maybe between, Hanamura and this map really helped them figure out, hey, maybe this is what we need to swap up. And they're going to be coming into this next fight with Orion Shatter and with, Valk. And Valk is good for, gaining back ults for all your other teammates. But on the other side of EU Scrimbucks, they have almost everything except for Tire. They only had used Tire that last fight. So this might actually be last fight territory if EU Scrimbucks plays this right.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, it'll be a stall fight either way for Venice Vipers if they lose it out. That is the question. Do they lose it out, though? Is that a bomb into the back? What is the Roadhog doing? They pull the bomb into their own team. Are you kidding me? 2 Madre absolutely throwing the advantage away. GamesGeek is going to try and clutch up in the backline, but they're taken down by Well and Daphas, and that Soldier is dealt with up on the high ground. What a tragic play to conclude the map, but not over yet, potentially, as this will be the Winston and the Wrecking Ball coming back and trying to make a play. Mate as well on the Doomfist. Could come up with a cheeky few kills, but they don't touch the point. What a tragic end to that map, bringing it to match point. EU Scrimbox, they scrape it through, and Jaman breaking down everything that went wrong there, because there was way too much.
I think what completely went wrong there was that EU Scrimbucks had a 7th player called Two Madres Hog Hook, because that bomb was definitely, you saw Venice Vipers, the other players, hide behind, natural cover, expecting a bomb in a specific spot, only for their hog to unfortunately hook it to a spot that got 3 people. That was holdable. And they could have taken this map if, that one unfortunate incident didn't happen. Yes, EU Scrimbox had all the ults. They could have won just from the ult advantage. But at the end of the day, what killed them was a Diva Bomb, something that normally doesn't get that many kills unless there are other ults being put in. And by then, it was only a Rhine Shatter that may have gotten put in, and nothing else. And that didn't even get anyone.
Yeah, I mean, what killed them I don't think was the Diva. I think it was the Roadhog that killed them, to be honest.
That was for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's an unfortunate play for Two Mad Ray. We were praising their off tank a little bit, but now I think we have the right not to. Bit of an interesting play from them, and I could see it in your face as well, right? When I actually called it out, you reacted with you like covered your mouth with your hands because you were like, "Oh my god, what is that play?" And I was just as surprised, I can tell you that much. But hopefully we won't see too much craziness after the break, as we are going to be taking 10 minutes to recuperate from whatever the heck that was. And also, teams will be able to strategize a little bit. So don't go anywhere, chat. More craziness are coming soon. Alright, welcome back, folks, to the Tranquility Gaming Twitch channel. We are in the midst of this series between Venus Vipers and EU Scrim, and we've had some interesting maps coming up so far, Thor, because we've had chaos, we've had hard rolls, we just had everything in this series, including a 3-piece from Tu Madre.
Oh, for sure. Sorry, that 3-piece that should be illegal.
Popped off, honestly.
Popped off very well, illegally popping off. But you know, you are correct. There have been very clean executions for gameplay from EU Scrimbox, but we've also had just complete utter chaos wherein 6 ults are just dumped in like one go from obviously from both sides, 6 ults in total. But with this halftime break, hopefully Venice Vipers has figured out, what their game plan is coming in for this 4th map, which is going to be an escort map. And, I hope they figure out something to, push back and maybe take a win from, against EU Scrimbucks. And they're deciding to go with Rialto for this, map.
Yeah. I mean, Rialto is it's an interesting map because I think it's somewhat similar at parts to Eichenwald. Specifically, I want to talk about 2nd and 3rd point because those are the parts that are quite similar to Eichenwald. 1st point, it sucks on Rialto, I'll tell you that much, right? For attackers, pushing 1st point Rialto is one of the worst places to push in the game. I hate it so much. But 2nd and 3rd point are very similar to Eichenwald in that you have so much space to work with if you're playing hit scan. And what have they been doing the entire time? Well, Venus Vipers, rather. They've been playing hit scan. Not the entire time, but in Eichenwald, because that was all they had to deal with Jackson. They had a Soldier and a Cassidy, because they weren't playing D.Va, they were playing Roadhog, and, well, that's all they could really do, and it did work out. They had Mate absolutely popping off against Jackson, sometimes getting diffed themselves, but most of the time doing a lot of work on the Soldier. So I'm excited to see if they pull out that same sort of stuff again on the 2nd and 3rd points. It'll be a bit harder on the 1st point, maybe they run something a bit more brawly. But we'll end up seeing. I mean, Rialto's, I think, the best map pick you could have chosen here out of Rialto, Root, and Dorado.
I mean, if we're going to base it off their, Eichenwald map, which has shown to be at least more successful than their other 2 maps, and as you said, 2nd point and 3rd point of Rialto feel very similar to Eichenwald. I think this is a good choice for Venice Vipers, especially if they're feeling that, hey, we did way better in Eichenwald. Let's pick something quite similar to it in map structure. So really, I think their challenge right now is just getting through that 1st point. And the thing with the 1st point of Rialto is, the defense can run so many things. I've seen people spawn hold on Rialto 1st point. We've also seen, people go for the usual double shield, starting from the high ground and then dropping once they've turned the corner. And we've also seen people run ball comps on the 1st point of Rialto. So there's so many things that can be done on Rialto.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of variety to be played on Rialto in terms of what you can play, how you can play it. I mean, even within certain compositions, there's a ton of different playstyles. There is the Sigma. Sometimes people have this kind of split push playstyle if you play together, or you have your Sigma and yours on different angles. You can play Bull D.Va, but maybe you have an Echo Bull D.Va instead of an Ash Bull D.Va, as we're seeing right now, right? There's a lot of different options, I think, within compositions. It seems like EU Scrimbox are going back to their roots, though. Not so much because Jackson isn't on Farah, but I think that is understandable here because you've started to realize that maybe it's not the best option into double hit scan.
And I think EU Scrimbox may have figured out that Venice Vipers can bring out a double hit scan, and it can pressure Jackson on the Farah. And from what I've known, it's they bring out Jackson on the Farah because, it's a struggle to deal with Farahs at this level. So I think these are good adaptations, and I want to see how this is going to turn out because this is looking exciting already.
Yeah, it's looking like a compelling Widowmaker pick here at the start. I want to see if Jolie's can get anything. They've gone from playing main tank to having to play the Widowmaker here. Pretty stark contrast, but they're already making it look good. They grab that pick onto Elixir and looking for a little bit more. Wrecking Ball comes through in the backline, and Jackson is there for the follow-up. Takes out Skyflower. So it's a 1-for-1 trade where I think the attackers benefit from this because they'll get a quicker respawn, and they can start progressing this car ever forward.
Oh, for sure. And these are good trades. And there's a res on, you know, the side of Venice Vipers, but Jackson just comes in getting Jolise.
Yep, immediate kill onto them there, so dealing with the issue, or at least what they've deemed to be the issue, which is Jolise on that would make it. Got some early kills off, early damage, and now they have a bit of a foothold on the cart. Can have some high ground control where Mixer Kieran is playing, and this allows Elixir to get these dynamites in. That's a very meaty one coming through, and it should allow them to push back a little bit, maybe force Venice Vipers into a less comfortable position, especially with Elixir just firing down the damage, like I say. And that power drive coming through, I don't think Jackson is quite there to follow up onto it, but they are going to be looking to go into the high ground and deal with the Widowmaker. Jolise gets taken down. Brilliant synergy from Mixer and Jackson. Jackson does go down for their troubles, but I think this still benefits the defenders, because they can really thrive in that chaos. That being said, Jolise res back up, 65 now, and Mixer Kieran hooked, antied, I mean, life of a tank player in 2022. But I think this is now going to be the cart pushing into this more exposed position.
But you have to take note, we are running Briggs and heals here, so the sustain might not be as strong on the side of EU Scrimbucks, and it is showing with, you know, the picks that are coming out from Venice Vipers.
Yeah, indeed, they're getting the damage through, they're getting the kills through. And that Zen Brig can't really do much against it. You see Mixer Kieran very slowly ticking up in HP, and they just opt to go for the bomb instead of actually trying to regenerate all that health. While Ndathaslu going to be hooked, slept, antied. They're probably going to go down here as well. Skyflower gets the final blow onto them. There's going to be the Brig to try and... Actually, they're going to stun Bob combo. I've never seen that before. The Brig in a nice position to set that up. But the anti-nade comes through onto the Bob. They're probably going to go down pretty shortly. Hooked into position by Team Madrid for the follow-up. Nano onto the Reinhardt. Actually procs the Transcendence from Eden. I'll save them from the Shadow, but only the first half of it, as they still get the swings through, still get the damage. And it's looking like Venice Vipers can crack open the first point as soon as they kill off these supports.
And yeah, looks like it's going to be pretty much cleanup until if they can get the D.Va off point, because that D.Va is still contesting for them.
Yeah, Mixer Kieran gets in there, gets some extra time brought onto the cart, and I think that's what you really like to see here for EU Scrimbox, is buying the extra time, forcing out 2 ultimates as well. I'm not sure if Venice Vipers, panic ulted, or if that was an actual, call-out in voice to use as ults. But either way, bit of a waste.
I think to clean up the fight is good, but they're going in on an ult deficit. They are only coming in with a Widowmaker ult, which only provides sights to give an idea where everyone is and for everyone else to set up. But on the side of EU Scrimbucks, they're coming in with 3 ults. A D.Va Bomb, Pulse, Rally, and Rally is such a huge thing to play because they can just brawl it out if they decide to brawl things out.
Yeah, it was a very close call there for Jolise as they got pile drived, stunned up, and attempted to take him down by the ball, but didn't quite work as Spadrak and Jackson are the ones on EU Scrimbox that are going to go down instead. They are still going to try and stabilize around this high ground. You've got the Zenyatta up there, you've got the D.Va, but they can't really 1v6, unfortunately.
No, with this comp, everyone needs to go in together. And it looks like that's what they're planning to do with throwing this D.Va Bomb.
Creative bomb from Mixer, actually. It covers so many angles there. The Bunny doesn't really know where to go. It's a bomb into the backline from Jackson as well, as it's looking like an explosive team fight where Elixir does end up going down, but I don't think that's enough for Venice Vipers to win this one out. So they'll give up at that round. But I'm not sure if these next team fights will actually be favored towards EU Scrimbox. I mean, look at the ults coming up now.
I personally think it actually still might favor EU Scrimbucks. They did not use the Rally. They have Transcendence. They have Mines. Literally with the Rally and the Transcendence, they could brawl things on point the moment Karak comes in. But I think what's going to be the challenge is the fact that Venice Vipers is coming in with 4 ults, with one of them going to be built during the fight. So it's all about timing for this. Who's engaging first? And it looks like Venice Vipers is engaging first with this.
I think that was more of EU Scrimbox engaging and just getting absolutely rolled. It was a brilliant flash left click from GamesGeek to at least set up that kill into Jackson. They'll come back from spawn pretty shortly, but they'll be absent from the fight just long enough for them to get this cart presence. And this actually allowed GamesGeek to build up that high noon you were talking about during the team fight. So Elixir going down to Jolise, just that long-range spam. They actually take down Jackson as well, so the DPS line falling single-handedly to the Soldier yet again. I'm starting to think it's Soldier that's busted and not quite the players themselves, but We'll see, as that is the pile drive engage onto the cart. Dathas trying to buy some time, and without a speed boost, it's going to be difficult to get this Nana Reinhardt into position. They are basically just locking down the cart. And that Transcendence now, a very strong engage for EU Scrimbox to get back into position. They have the target focus as they take down 2 Madare, and Character goes down as well. So yeah, I think that's EU Scrimbox stabilizing.
Oh, that is EU Scrimbox stabilizing, but what do they have for the incoming fight? They're just going to have Diva Bomb. But on the side of Venice Vipers, they're going to have, what, High Noon, Visor, Valk on the way, and even Rhine Shatter. Ult economy-wise, Venice Vipers should have this in the bag, because they just pop Transcendence, and there are so many of these ults on the side of Venice Vipers that, you know, Transcendence would be super useful to deal with. But then again, they don't have a Lucio. They need to make this transition fast, or they're just going to, you know, let their number the cart.
Yeah, I think as well, it comes down to one of these DPS ults. I'm not sure which one from Venice Vipers, but Bunny goes down, so maybe they'll have to come up with a clutch play as Jolise goes down. That is so unfortunate. They could have gotten work done with a Visor, but instead it's GamesGeek that has to try and clutch up, and to be fair, they've gotten 2 kills to their name, looking for the 3rd one to Dathas potentially, as that bomb will zone everyone off of the cart just temporarily. Carrick and Sky do end up falling. I think with this overtime coming through, I don't think the Roadhog has enough presence on the cart to really make this one theirs. No, it won't quite happen. The overtime wick burns down. And it's only 1 point to their name for Venice Vipers. But, I mean, EU Scrimbox, it's still going to be difficult for them to push on their offense, so I wouldn't rule them out completely.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't rule it out completely, because we have seen that Rialto is a hard map to generally complete, right? And like sometimes you have teams getting stuck at the first part of Rialto. So if Venice Vipers wants to take a win against EU Scrimbox for this map, they need to hold EU Scrimbox at that first point. Or if not, make a really solid defense on second point. You know, effectively using the high ground that comes with the second point. That's, you know, as you said, very characteristic of the Eichenwald map, right? So when we look at what both teams are running on the side of EU Scrimbox, we're having another ball comp, except this time we're modifying it. There's no more Pharah. There's going to be an Echo. They've opted out of the Pharah for Echo for, you know, I think more burst damage. And you know what's good for at least an Echo? That burst damage melts through a Rhine shield very quickly. And we have seen Venice Viper stick to this Rhine for all 4 maps, right? So they know they're not going to... EU Scrimbox knows that Venice Vipers is not switching out of that Rhine. So it's really up to, you know, Venice Vipers to see, hey, these are the changes, what are we doing? Oh, I think that's a last minute swap from Jackson. Are we seeing some Widow playing here?
Maybe just a peek out. I think they'll be sticking on the Echo. I don't think you play a Pocket Widowmaker. Yeah, you don't. There are some intricacies to this swap that I want to mention. You've moved Jackson over to the Echo, so they have the Mercy with them, and because of the lack of a Brig, you've now got a Sigma. That's a really intricate heads-up swap from EU Scrimbox. Whether it works out is debatable, because Mixer immediately takes a dive into the waters of Rialto, and I'm not sure that that is quite convenient for them to be working with on this first fight. You'll still get Jackson coming in with a lot of the spam. They swapped over to the Pharah, realizing there's no soldier to deal with, and they still get taken down by the Cassidy anyway, so a bit overconfident, and that's looking good as a first fight there for Venice Vipers.
Oh, that is indeed a good fight, and that's, you know, these picks have given ult charge, such that the ult economy is leading towards Venice Vipers right now.
Yeah. Aiden actually playing quite alpha on the high ground as well. They forced, I believe, the Cassidy off of it. Bunny does get the res off onto GamesGeek, so there's still going to be a lot of DPS presence to be contending with, and EU Scrimbox have to find a way through this. But their Wrecking Ball is still returning from spawn, and the Roadhog again looking for these cheeky hooks off into the river. That'll be them getting taken down by Dathas, however, so a bit unfortunate, a bit too aggressive to Madare. And now there's a very clean pile drive coming through from Dathas, but Elixir taken down right as they try and get some follow-up onto it. That's GamesGeek with the mine, a very good heads-up play. The High Noon will zone some players off, and I think Venice Vipers, once their Roadhog gets back, they will have this cart presence to their name, but no, they're all the way back at the second choke. They do get that hook up onto Jackson, but no kill conversion. Instead, they have the barrage online and can potentially use it. Might want to go over the top, and that looks to be what they're doing into the back. trying to take out the Mercy, but they keep on debating the enemy, and they're debating me as well. I keep thinking Jackson's going to go for the barrage, and they're not. Very annoying, if I do say so myself, but it's a good play. As they will now go for that poop off as well. Oh my word, they catch GamesGeek off. I think that was like way too far away to even see from Jackson's point of view. It's a brilliant heads-up play. And I think now is the time to go for the barrage. Yeah, they get into position, they get that damage through, and this should allow you Scrimbox to get the first points.
Oh yes, that barrage, very patient of Jackson to wait when to, let go of that barrage. As you said, you have been waiting this whole time for Jackson to let go of that barrage, and he was waiting for the right target, it seems, because I think they noticed that Skyflower hadn't used Nano yet. And if Skyflower had gotten that Nano onto any target that does lots of damage, they would have wreaked havoc on, the squishier, core of EU Scrimbox.
Yeah, indeed, and I think that was part of it. Is Aiden gets taken down by GamesGeek, so they have gone back over to the Soldier, and I think this is what you need to do against Jackson's Farah. I think this is kind of what they've agreed on as the medium to deal with them. The question is, will it work this time around? Jackson going for a very wide flank all the way around, and they catch GamesGeek completely unawares. Gonna look to try and pressure out the backline, but they are being forced away by that whole hog from to Madre. A pretty creative use, forcing away the Pharmacy duo, but Bunny still ends up going down. Elixir with that pulse bomb in the backline. Jackson into position to follow up onto Skyflower. And now it's going to come down to last fight territory to pretty much decide the series because, hey, it's match point.
Yeah, it is match point, but what does Venice Vipers have coming in with, to stop this card at that last point? Ana Nano, Ryan Shatter, Cassidy Ult, they have to use something, but they gotta touch the card first, and I think that's why Two Marches switched to Ball just for this last minute contest. Last fight territory for all teams.
Question is, what can they get done on the ball? They do manage to take out Mixer Kirin. Jackson, though, with the barrage, bursting them down. That's 2 kills for them. While and Dathas with the roll through onto their opposing number. While and Dathas and Jackson, the key players this entire series long for EU Scrimbox, and they're popping up just at the last minute. So is Aiden as well. They want a piece of the fame. They want us to say their name. And say their name, I will. EU Scrimbox coming up with the series win in 4-0 fashion. Brilliant stuff to be seeing in our Harmony tier preseason EU finals. And really, all off the back of Jackson's Farah, Walandathas' Wrecking Ball, Elixir's Tracer. So many moving parts that they have just been playing around perfectly.
I mean, they had such clean executions with this ball cop, like from start to finish. Maybe Eichenwald could have been, a bit better, right? But all in all, they have a 4-0. They're the first preseason winners of the EU Harmony tier. That is something that they have bragging rights to. At least, for this season. They are the first preseason winners, and that's what they have with them.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they popped off that entire series long. There were some dire moments. There were some situations where I think they could have lost a map even, especially at the last minute on Eichenwald. Bit unfortunate that the two Madre ended up throwing that map for their team, but I don't think you can blame them. I think every Roadhog wants to have that dream play where they save their team from the self-destruct, and most of the time it ends up backfiring, but you gotta go for it anyway. But other than that map, I mean, they were just putting up the constant pressure throughout. EU Scrimbox looking good going into the season, not gonna lie.
Oh, definitely. They are looking clean. They are looking polished. And if this is the quality of gameplay we're going to be seeing from the EU teams, it would actually be interesting to see how all the other EU teams will be playing. For context, there have only been 4 teams in the EU tier that signed up for preseason. So we are going to be seeing so much more action and even more, changes, diversity in it. And hey, that's something that would be definitely interesting and new to share with the community.
Yeah, exactly. And as well, something I want to mention is going into the season, I want to see if anyone can upset EU Scrimbox. I'm not sure what their games were like leading up to this finals. I'm not sure what the format was, how many games they played, but depending on how many teams they have played so far, there could still be room for teams to come through and adapt and really start to counter them. It does seem like they will be the juggernauts of this season to be in the Harmony tier of EU. And obviously with this being our first kind of EU season as well, What a debut to have, to be honest.
Oh, exactly. And there's so much more to come, and I'm just looking forward to it. And you are correct. Like, it's looking like EU Scrum Bucks is that juggernaut of the EU tier, and I'm looking to see what the teams who weren't in preseason have to say and have to show. Maybe there is actually like another juggernaut that just was not in the preseason.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, you never know. But either way, we're actually gonna have some NA matches coming up later today. So EU isn't the only content you guys in chat are gonna get. I'm pretty sure that's 8:30 EST is going to be that game between Galactic Penguins and Koala Kings. Very excited for that. I'll be tuning in myself. Obviously, I won't be casting it, but I'm very excited to see how that goes, and that will be it for us today on the cast. Thank you all for coming along. Thank you for joining me on your first Tranquility cast, Thor, and of course my first Tranquility cast as well. Pleasure to be here. So thank you for joining me, and thank you, chat, for joining me on the journey as well. See you later tonight in the NA, I believe, preseason grand finals as well, so we'll see you there.